Hey guys, it's Brian. Before you go ahead and do anything else, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications if you want to see more content like this in the future. Anyways, on to the video. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. And so today, we're going to go ahead and showcase another one of my highlight matches from my road to 1000 rating as fast as possible. So earlier today, I did hit a little bit of a losing streak, so I had to regain my rating, so it's back up to the 900s at this point, the recording of this video. So before we get into the match, if we get 5 likes before the end of the day today, I'll go ahead and make a double upload. So go ahead and smash the like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a lot. So let's go ahead and start at the match. I'm going first, and so opening hand isn't really the greatest. So as you can see, I open up with Dark Magician, 2 Ash Blossoms, Shaddoll Fusion, and Ecclesia, while my opponent here has Rat Pier, Drone Lock, Whiptail, Curse Eldlich, and Pod Desires. So my hand is really awkward at this point. So I go ahead and just try and force it. Go ahead, normal summoning the Ash to go ahead and summon Almirage. Using Ecclesia's effect to special summon itself, that way it can go ahead and link into Vertag. And with Vertag's effect, I can go ahead and make Dragoon. So that way I have at least 2 forms of disruption, one being the Ash and one with the Dragoon itself. So here my opponent normal summons the Whiptail into the Borbo right away, and decides to attack me directly, bringing me down to 48. Exceeds into Chakanine into all the way up, leading up to Zeus. And when he activated Zeus, my debate was if I should attempt to negate it, at least make him use more material, but then looking on it, Zeus is still going to be on field. I'd rather keep the Ash to go and disrupt something else. So here he used Curse Eldlich. I go ahead and Ash it. He goes ahead and right away uses Pod Desires, banishing the top 10. And he draws into the Golden Lord and to a Dimension Shifter, which is dead at this point. And off the top, he banished Thoroughblade, Conquistador, another Dimension Shifter, Huaquero, another copy of Pod Desires, which is actually pretty good to see, Barrage, Bunny Blast, another Conquistador, Dark Rule No More, and Tenki. So, more or less, really okay he banishes, because it could be worse. So I draw for turn and I top deck a Dear Servant. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to play this out. So my first option is to right away go into the App Cologne to go ahead and negate the Zeus. That way have a chance of doing anything else without having the worry of my board being wiped. So I go ahead and send Squamata and Wendy. That way I also have protection from Ash if he wants to hold off the Ash at any point. But I would have assumed that you would Ash the Shaddoll Fusion. So most likely it could be either that or Skullmeister. So I go ahead and order the chain where Abclones owns the last thing being activated, so that way he has to be forced to use the Zeus. So if not, he's going to have to just hold on to the materials, knowing that he's not going to be able to disrupt my board anymore. So here I'm getting a beast, and I wasn't going to go ahead and use the Resh, but I wanted to go ahead and thin my deck as much as possible and get rid of the Zeus. So I wanted to go ahead and get rid of the Zeus first by sending the Entis off on a deer. And right after I get the Ecclesia, he goes ahead and chains Droll. So I was debating on special summoning the Ecclesia, but to go ahead and get as much damage in as possible, but I decided to hold off on that and just attack with the App Clone. So I go ahead and poke him for 25, and my opponent draws into the Dark Ruler no more. Goes ahead and activates Cursed. And after searching with Curse, he goes ahead and normal summons the Rapier, sending away the combo. Exceeds all the way into Dryden to go ahead and pop his Curse. Goes into Borbo to attack directly. And then he goes ahead and exceeds into the Zeus. And here he decides to go ahead and set the Conquistador. And with the Huaquero, he's going to go ahead and get the Sanguine out of his deck. So I top deck Alistair. So I go ahead and start out by flip summoning Beast. He goes ahead and chains combo. Probably trying to look for another Droll. So I draw Invocation and Hog from this. I discard the Hedgehog. And he immediately goes ahead and gets a draw off. So here I am with a little bit of a dilemma. So I go ahead and attempt to go into the battle phase, see if I can bait out his back row. I try and go for Zeus. And I asked to go ahead and proceed to the damage, and he decides to go ahead and chain in the Sanguine to go ahead and force a replay. And after res, he's going to go ahead and chain Conquistador to go ahead and pop. So I'm here thinking about chaining the Alistair to go ahead and boost it so I can get my Apple in the graveyard. So I go ahead with the effective Apclone. I go ahead and get Wendy from my graveyard and go ahead and discard it right away so I can get something out of my deck. So I go ahead and set the Aerial. And so I attack the Conquistador. Just put a material under Zeus. So he's going to go ahead and get the last Dimension Shifter that was dead. That way he doesn't have to draw into it. So after going ahead and getting that attack in, I go ahead and use Invocation. And the point of this play is because I'm going to force out the Zeus if he doesn't, and if he uses the effect, it's going to banish 3 out of his graveyard. If he doesn't, then it's going to be harder to go ahead and play from here. So he decides to go ahead and chain, which caught me a little off guard. But I wasn't really complaining. So I go ahead and go into Aguitas. And Aguitas effects are going to trigger, and Ariel is going to trigger as well. So I'm going to pop the Zeus, and he's going to go ahead and send Aguitas to the grave. And with Ariel, I'm going to go ahead and banish the Eldlich cards. So here I go ahead and just use the Invocations effect and just pass my turn. And that was mainly to just avoid having him sending something with Golden Lord. So here he goes ahead and uses Curse Eldland to go ahead and search for the counter trap Golden Land Forever. And then he pitches the Eldland with the Dark Ruler No More to go ahead and send the Eldland, and with the Eldland he's going to go ahead and get the Huaquero. Sets the land forever. And ends his turn. And in the end phase, he's going to go ahead and get the Sanguine. So I draw for turn, and I go ahead and draw a punishment, which is actually really good at this moment. So he goes ahead and gets the Golden Lord on the field. And I decide to go ahead and avoid doing anything that would force the counter trap, so I go ahead and set the Alistair to go ahead and at least have some form of defense, and I have the punishment set just in case. So he goes ahead and normal summons the Dimension Shifter, so that way he can get the Golden Lord off the board. Goes ahead and sets the Dark Ruler No More. I go ahead and once he sets, I go ahead and use punishment to go ahead and get the shifter, and I go ahead and send Construct because I don't have Entis anymore. If I did have Entis, I would have gone straight for the Golden Land Forever, but I decided to go ahead and get back the Shaddoll. That way I have form of grinding it out. So you can see he's down to 3 cards in deck. Goes ahead and sends the Alistair. Goes ahead and then uses White Destiny to go ahead and summon back the Golden Lord. So here is very interesting. I top deck Called by the Grave. So my goal for this turn is just to force out that Golden Lord either with the Ecclesia, and if he doesn't, I have the Brush to force it out. So as I let it go through, I go ahead and get the Fleur-de-Lis. And so from here I set 2 pass. He activates Tenki. I go ahead and chain the Rush. And with that, he goes ahead and decides to chain Golden Land Forever, which is really good for me. And he gets Ram out of his deck. So he tries to go ahead and use Golden Lord by sending the Tenki, but Called by the Grave will go ahead and just banish it. So here he tries to go ahead and use Chakanine, but because I do have Fleur-de-Lis, I'm just going to be able to just summon it and negate the effect. Goes into Borbo, and then goes into Espinal. I was afraid he was going to go into another Zeus, but he just decides to go ahead and get into Vespinal with as many materials as possible. So I here take 1,000, but because it's a must special summon from the extra deck, Ecclesia cannot be destroyed by battle with that, so that's a benefit for me. So I draw the Nibiru from the top deck, really wishing I had it the previous turn, but after making sure that there was no form of protection, I just go ahead and just switch both of them to attack. So that was a 30-minute game one, and so that was a really hard time. Thankfully for me, since he does run Desires, he ran out of the cards in his deck, and so I was able to play the long game with that. So here I'm being forced to go second, and I have a pretty good hand, and to go ahead and play second since I do have the droplets. So as you can see, even though I do have Meltdown, Foolish Burial, Droplets, Schism, and Ecclesia, this would be great going first and second, but because he has Anti-Spell Fragrance, it's not really that good at the moment, especially combining with the Solemn Judgment, Summon Limit, and the Zoodiac combo. So he goes ahead and gets Ram, goes ahead and gets into Trident, and then sets everything. So on standby, he flips over the Anti-Spell, and so I decide to go ahead and, after he uses combo, I decide to go ahead and just set 3 cards to go ahead and not have anything be disrupted by Trident, so that way I can force it out on my turn with the Ecclesia. So he attacks me with Trident, and he decides to not go into Zeus, which is pretty interesting. So, looking at my hand, I decided to go ahead and hold off another turn, because he probably has something of value back here, so I decided to go ahead and set 2 pass. So he decides to go ahead and just attack again, and set another card face down, in this case being the Forbidden Droplets of his own. And I top deck into Red Reboot. So I go ahead and use Cyclone to go ahead and get rid of the Anti-Spell. He tries to chain Judgment, but because I did top deck Red Reboot, I'm just going to go ahead and chain that. So I flip up Foolish Burial, and I chain the Droplets to go ahead and negate the Trident. So I go ahead and use Beast, and then he draws me, but I do have the Call by the Grave, so it's not going to really matter to me at this point. So I activate Meltdown, go ahead and get Alistair to my hand. And normal summon and go ahead and attempting to search for invocation. He goes ahead and uses his droplets to go ahead and send his Tenki. So I go ahead and summon Ecclesia. Use the effect to go ahead and search out the Fleur-de-Lis. And from here, it was pretty much game over. He did not have a way of stopping it. Since I did red reboot him, he's not going to be able to activate any of his traps. Dragon's negated, so that's at 0. And with Fleur-de-Lis, that's more than enough for a game. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hope to see you guys again next time. See ya!